Welcome back. So sorry about the connection issues we've had, but good to be back. Glad everything seems to be working for now. Sorry to the kids' drive that you got cut short, but please remember you can still send in your questions, as can all the viewers. Remember you can also use the platforms YouTube, Twitter and Twitch, #WildEarth. We'd love to hear from each and every one of you. Davi and I have just been cruising around. We've seen a couple different tracks. Seen some giraffe and warthog. It's been quite an enjoyable morning so far. We decided we're just going to come down to Chitwa Dam. Always a good place to spend some time. And there's another warthog. Another 2 warthogs. Good morning. Not too sure about us. Typical prey behavior. Remember, a warthog is a favorite food item out here in the bush. There they stop again. Especially for the likes of leopard. So they always tend to be on the skittish side, not ever trusting. He's wondering, what are we doing? Why have we stopped? Something's not right. He's telling his buddy I'm out of here. Buddy doesn't seem too phased. Pumbaa squared. Look at that tail straight up. Often considered to be a follow me sign, those tails that stand straight up, so that if a few pigs are running together, or perhaps the mom is running in front and the baby piglets are following her to escape danger, they just follow that tail. So we think. Obviously difficult to prove. Another theory I've heard is to why that tail stands up straight is that their skin is so tight that when they're running through the grass, they need to sometimes close their eyes to protect their eyes from grass seeds. And when they close their eyes, their skin is so tight it pulls their tail up. But I don't think there's any grounds to that. I think that's just a joke. But perhaps, who knows? Well, they seem to have made their way off. Getting away from these crazy metal things that are harassing them this morning. Almost down at the dam. What are we going to find? And there's a waterbuck lying down there. And oh, I already see a fish eagle. I haven't been here in ages, but I always remember there to be a fish eagle here. Oh, Roz, sorry, I didn't quite hear your name there. I think I got it right. You've asked what safety measures are taken during such a safari. I'm assuming you are referring to myself and Davi here in the vehicle. Just going to pull over to the left here. We're going to try and have a look at the Waterbuck bull who's lying down. Just over here ahead of us. You've asked what safety measures are taken. Well, I suppose the main safety measure is an experience in the bush, to know your boundaries and to know the different animals and their comfort zones, to not harass animals, to not get too close to them, particularly larger animals like elephant. Don't want to get inside their personal space. It all just really, for me, comes down to a personal respect and not infringing on an animal's comfort zone. That's, to me, the main safety measure that we take. As long as these animals don't feel that we're trying to get too close, then they generally are quite happy. In a vehicle, it's obviously a lot different. Animals naturally wary of vehicles. On foot, it's a little bit of a different story. You've got to kind of keep your wits about you a little bit more. You don't have the safety of the vehicle. So if you'll remember from the bushwalks, we'll often have a game scout with us that is an added safety measure. Bill from the USA, good morning and welcome. I'm not sure it's morning over there, depending on what time zone you're in, but a very good morning from here. You've asked, can antelope outrun a lion? And here's a good example, an Impala right here in front of us, this beautiful big ram. And they are actually able to outrun a lion. They're very quick and very nimble. But in a straight-on neck-and-neck race, if they were to start at the same starting line, it would be very interesting to see who actually wins maybe a 100-yard dash. But out here in the bush, they are very quick. They could outrun a lion in a short distance because of their agility. I'm not so sure what their top speeds are, but from my experience, a lion would have to pounce from a very close distance. Almost gonna get them with an element of surprise. If a lion starts running at an antelope from 100 yards away, the antelope would, the vast majority of the time, get away. They're just very nimble, can turn on a dime, bound over objects. They are very, very quick indeed. Often when hunting antelope, lion have to rely on different tactics. They either have to get extremely close and be able to pounce from a very short distance, taking the antelope with the element of surprise before the antelope can really reach its top speed and escape danger, or they would have to hunt using their pride methods, where perhaps the majority of the pride will be lying in wait in the thick scrub up ahead, and another lion or lioness would come from the other side and kind of push the antelope in that direction, in the direction of the ambushing pride. So we'll often see antelope in open areas like this where they have the ability to see all around them, see the danger. You'll often see them spending their evenings and their vulnerable hours in the open areas where they can keep a wary eye. Whereas in the thick bush, it's harder for them to see the approaching danger. Well, there was a fish eagle on the tree. I was gonna go have a look at that, but it went away. Let's see if we can slowly go around the dam and see where it flew to. While we do that, we're gonna send you over to Tristan, who is still trying to find Salamba. We wish him all best luck. Let's hope he's got some good news for us.
No good news just yet. Unfortunately, we're still trying to track, and I'm going to show you why we have no good news, because the tracking this morning is near impossible. Between the light that we've got and the substrate that she's walking on, we are really struggling to keep up with her tracks. Also, she's hunting impalas in this area, and so she's kind of back and forth all over the roads. But to give you an idea, here is the road that obviously runs, and you would think, well, if she walked on the road, it would be easy to see. Now, here I've marked out a track. If any of you can try and see it within that circle, it is incredibly difficult to make out her footprint in amongst this. If you have a look, it's only when I'll point it out that you'll start to see it. But if you have a look here in this section is the pad coming back, and then her toes going along there. So it's this like that, and 1, 2, 3, 4 toes. If I maybe use a smaller stick, it'll be easier just to like outline it a little bit. But it comes like this. There we go. Toe, 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 and toe, basically. So this is her back foot as she's walking along. Now, she's been, like I say, hunting impalas in this area. It's an open clearing, a lot of ratting impalas around here. So it seems like what she's doing is she came down and then she crossed into here, then back over, and then she's coming up and going along. And from the tracks, it looks like she's walking quite quickly. So often what they do is when they get onto a road like this and they're quite exposed, they get onto their belly and they do that leopard crawl where they scurry along. And I suspect that what she's done is she's gone into this drainage line and maybe tried to get round in order to hunt these impalas. So we're going to try and figure out if we can find her. It's a very, very, very thick, very difficult drainage line. It's impossible for a car to negotiate, but hopefully she's going to kind of work her way along back towards the road. So I'm going to take Sandy Patch and then come up, and we'll check there's a little water hole inside here, see if maybe she's there, and then from there, I don't know. If she hasn't come out, it's going to be near impossible. Like I say, this is in a place where you cannot get a vehicle into. I've tried multiple times. It's just too thick, too undulating, and so not an area that we can actually get to, especially if she's mobile and she's not sitting still. Anyway, we're going to carry on. We're going to see what else we can find for her. Hopefully we find her milling about, or even with an impala kill. That would be first prize. But while we do that, let's send you up to andBeyond Ngala and Sean and see how things are going on that side of the world.
So we just have a little slender mongoose that's basically right here with the vehicle. Okay. Where's he gone now? Oh, he's going to be in running front of the vehicle. So slender mongoose, you don't really see them like out for long periods of time, but this one that's just been moving around quite a bit in and around the vehicle. We just want to give it some time. Don't want to make too much noise. See if he might come back. I think he's just in front of the vehicle as we speak. And can you see him on that side? Yeah, well, I just like to show the viewers what I'm talking about. Just want to quickly go to the page with him, and I'll also keep a good look out to see if he comes back. I think he's just in front of the vehicle as we speak. So just want to show everyone what we are looking out for, and that is the little slender mongoose that's down here at my thumb, this one right here. So he's just moving in front of the vehicle. I don't know if he's still there, but we'll just give it some time and see if he comes out. Oh, and can you see something on that side? So what we're going to do for the viewers is, I know that you probably want to see what we saw with that slender mongoose. So we have a little clip that we're going to play everyone as we're going to carry on with our drive. How amazing was that? Like, often with the slender mongoose, you don't see them for long periods of time, often just dashing across the road, and that's it. That's your only view you might get of them. But just to
Welcome back. We are just chilling down here by Chitwa Dam, enjoying the bird life. We managed to get a lovely shot of this beautiful fish eagle, our iconic African fish eagle. In America, you've got the bald eagle, and this is our version. Absolutely beautiful. Always watchful, looking for the next meal, I suppose. I haven't been down here at Chitwa Dam in a long time. Not sure if they have a nest or eggs. They would be laying around this time. Generally in southern Africa it's around May to June. They would have their eggs in a nest. I'm not sure. Don't see the partner anywhere. Perhaps currently incubating. I'm not sure. Nonetheless beautiful to get such a lovely up close shot. As we may derive from its name, fish eagle predominantly feeds on fish, able to lift large fish out the water. But sometimes they'll feed on mammals and even aquatic birds. There's some other lovely bird life down here right on the edge. I see on the water's edge down here on the right some Egyptian geese. This is Zero, you said this is beautiful. I agree, it's lovely to spend time down here at the dam. Let's see what Mr. Goose is doing. Now, we've gone from the carnivore to the vegetarian. Egyptian geese will feed on aquatic plants, tubers. Ooh, a little three-banded plover. Back to carnivore or insectivore. They generally would be feeding on aquatic and terrestrial invertebrates, little insects. Perhaps time though for a little quiz. What? Or a riddle. I don't know what you would call it. There's something these three bird species have in common. It has to do with their breeding behavior. Could anyone tell me what these three bird species have in common? We've got the African fish eagle, the Egyptian goose, and the three-banded plover. Small, medium, and large. Their preference of food is not what they have in common. One is on insects, one is on meat, so it's not that. What they do have in common is to do with their breeding behavior. That's the clue. Does anyone perhaps know? We'll give it a few minutes, see what you guys come back with. What do these three bird species have in common? African fish eagle, Egyptian goose, and a three-banded plover. Now remember, I'm not looking for the obvious, I'm looking for a behavioral trait that they all have in common. The clue being it's something to do with breeding. Dawn, you've said they lay eggs on ground. A good guess, but remember, our fish eagle lays eggs in a nest, so that's not that. What I'm looking for has nothing to do with eggs, it has to do with their method of breeding. And the correct answer is in. Well done to Doriel and Alan. You hit the nail on the head. They are monogamous birds, meaning they have one partner. So all these three bird species share that trait. African fish eagle, three-banded plover, and the Egyptian goose. They are monogamous in their breeding. Monogamous meaning one partner. Quite common with birds and certain mammal species that we also have here in southern Africa. Lisa G, you've asked, how do we know if this African fish eagle is a boy or a girl, a male or a female? Actually not very easy to identify at a distance to sex. The females are larger than the males, and they've got a broader white chest patch, I suppose you could call it. This looks like a female to me. But quite similar between male and female. It's only really when they are right next to each other that it's kind of easy to point out the difference in size and in that white breast plumage. And then of course the other plumage you would get would be the juveniles, which have quite a mottled plumage. Doesn't have that striking difference between dark and light. They've got a more mottled, patchy brownish plumage. It takes them around 4 to 5 years to reach adult plumage. So very easy to see if you're lucky enough to see the three together, the male, the female, and the juvenile. Striking difference in them. In the world is Hyena. To see them swooping down and grabbing huge fish out of the water, up to 2 kilograms in weight. That's a heavy fish. To hear their beautiful call as you sipping on a nice cold drink as the sun goes down is always a memory to be made. Well, Davy and I heard reports of another leopard sighting yesterday evening, not too far from where we are now, so we're going to slowly bumble along and see perhaps we can pick up a track. And on the tracking note, let's send you back over to Tristan and see how his spoor following is going.
Well, at this stage, David, not very well. Unfortunately, just the roads are so hard. It is impossible to see where she went from that last track that I checked twice now. I've also done the block all the way around. We checked that water hole. There's nothing that I can see that would indicate that she's anywhere at least close to the road. But the problem is also in this particular area, as the grass is so long, if she just sits down, we won't spot her. She'll have to be walking in order for us to see her. But this is what she's here for, is that because in the evenings this area's got lots of open clearings, there's water, it attracts quite a fair number of impalas that are rutting at the moment. And a rutting impala is a much easier thing to hunt than a sort of normal impala herd that's got a male that's not going crazy. The boys, when they start getting concerned about females, start to lose their minds and not pay attention, and makes it an easy target for the likes of a leopard. So we're just going to have to, like I say, be patient and just keep checking the area, and eventually she's got to pop out. But she was a busy girl last night, but I'm almost 99% sure it's her, because the tracks come from our camp, and I know she was seen at the dam, and so she's walked from the camp all the way to the northern boundary, then all the way west to our western boundary, and then has cut southwest into the block. And so she's been busy. What's interesting is she walked over the top of a male leopard as well that was walking last night. He went into Buffalo's Hook, so crossed north in the same route that she kind of took to get north. He came on the fire break east rather than west, and then went north. So I wonder if it looked like she was on top of his tracks. So it's not that he's following her or anything like that, but it's interesting, especially if she's starting to call. She's going to start attracting the attention of the boys, that's for sure. You can see lots of posturing by these males. They don't want other males getting anywhere near their females. Watch, you see? You see how he just keeps the others away, and this is why they lose so much condition, is because of how much they've got to keep others at bay in order just to keep a few females. And it's why the turnover of males is so high. You often find that the males are changing every 3-4 days in terms of these little harems. Okay, well, I'm going to carry on. I think I'm going to cross onto Simbambili. Why not? Let's go and see what's happening on that side. In the meantime, let's send you across all the way up to Sean and see what he's doing with his big Ellie.
So we just found a herd of elephants. We just want to give it some time because they are moving from a dense area into more of an open area. So see that gap that we're looking in now? You can see there's some elephants in the back. But I saw... Yeah. So I just want to have a look. There's actually a youngster that's coming out now. You'll see just behind this bush pretty soon. You might see the ears or the head of this one coming out. So Owen, just give me 1 second. I'm gonna move like a meter forward, and there's a little gap here that I want you to look in. How's that? You might just see this one coming up with a bit of bark over the tusk. There we go. It's amazing, like a big elephant like that, how it can easily disappear in the bush like this. I think you might even see there's a little baby that's also soon going to be coming up. The only thing I can see is just the ears above the grass. Now often with it being overcast like this, as well as there's a little breeze blowing, elephants tend to move into a denser area. And also being early part of the morning is the time when they are feeding as well. So they'll feed for quite a bit, and as soon as it starts warming up, they'll probably move towards water. It's just so peaceful at the moment. What I'm going to try and do is just be quiet, and I want you to listen out to all the noises. You'll just hear how the elephants are stripping the bark. You'll hear how they're wrapping their trunk around some of the leaves and pulling, or some of the branches are pulling the leaves off. So what I'm going to try and do is, so the elephants have moved into a little gap that's probably 10 meters away from us. So I'm just going to go slightly back and just a little bit forward, and we'll try and reposition again. See if we can get another glimpse of them. Now, often it's really difficult, especially if the area is dense, to try and get a view. However, we're going to try and position you into a little gap here. Oh, you know what? There's actually, just hold on. I can see there's going to be a lovely gap through here. Yeah, here we go. Just going to slowly stop next to this elephant. How beautiful is that? Just have a look at how this elephant is using its trunk. So that tree has quite a bit of thorns on it. But look how carefully this elephant is wrapping its trunk around just to break the branch off and then straight into its mouth. You can see that tusk as well, they're really, really dirty. And actually just use it to break that branch off. So grab hold of it with the trunk and just use that branch as the tusk as a lever just to pull it down. You can see this one also has a bit of a tear in the ear there. Looks like a little hole. Might have been from rubbing up against a tree, and maybe there was like a sharp branch and it just gave it that little cut on the side of the ear. You can actually just hear. Emma, that's a very good question. Like, I think with an elephant, it's very dependent on the trunk, especially when drinking water. It depends on how far it's lost the trunk. Let's say if it's only half the trunk, it will still be able to find its way around. There's actually a couple of elephants that I have seen that have lost the trunks, and especially because of either crocodiles, maybe a snare that was left somewhere. And then basically those elephants, the end of the trunk, they actually find ways of using it so they can still feed and drink water. I think the main thing for them, though, is probably using that to maneuver some of the material that they eat into their mouth, but also to drink. Now, if the trunk is lost just where the tusks are, so very high up, I'm sure the elephant, unfortunately, won't make it. But if it's further down, I think the further it is down, the more likely it is that the elephant would survive. Because look at how it's using this trunk now. It's actually grabbing hold of it so that it can maneuver that little bit of the branch that it's feeding on, so it can get the most out of it. And you can see also now, like, just going and having quite a bit of a feast, especially on the leaves. Now that thorn, or that tree that's feeding on, you see those shiny dark green leaves? It's called a buffalo thorn. Now the other day, I was stopping and I was showing the kids the horrible thorns that you find on that particular tree, and it just shows you how thick that elephant skin must be in order to break it off and even eat that without any trouble. Just a look at the right next to the eye. You can see the long eyelashes. Often with elephants, if they do feed in a really dense area, they have to be so careful of not accidentally pricking out their eyes. So those long hair acts as little sensors. So as they move and there's a sharp object right there, they can actually close their eye, maneuver their head around it so they don't accidentally prick out their eye. Just right behind the eye, I don't know if everyone can see on the screen, but there's like this little secretion that's coming out of a small hole. It's called a temporal gland. Now often if elephants are stressed, especially females, that's where they'll secrete a little liquid or a bit of liquid from that temporal gland. However, the males, if they go into must, they also secrete quite a bit of fluid out of that. William H7, that's a really good question. I think with most animals, even something like a zebra or a wildebeest, if you had to take off all the hair, it has that grey colour. I think it's just the pigment of the skin. However, with elephants, it does help them to blend in quite a bit as well. And the other thing about it is sometimes you'll find that they have like a grey or whitish sheen, and that also depends on the mud that they do flick onto their back. But it's a very good question. I think the grey skin is just probably like the pigment, which you find with most animals if you look at the underlying skin. I don't know if there's any particular reason. Maybe it might help also in terms of how it absorbs the heat. But I'm just not too sure if there's any other reason. It's just the way that elephants are. It would probably be the best way to explain it. But a very good question. No, but normally the color of an elephant would also depend on the mud that they flick on. So if there's a lot of like a whitish clay, you'll find that the elephant has more of a white, light grey color. And then often after water, they have a very dark grey, nearly to black color. Sophia H7, Kristen H5, very good question. So elephants, it all depends on, of course, their size and in terms of how much they weigh. So let's say with this one here, I think this one would probably weigh around maybe 3 tons, give or take. But sometimes elephant bulls, like I know there has been records of elephant bulls that are nearly 12 tons. So it all varies. They can weigh anything from a young elephant that's been born that could be anywhere from 85 kilograms to 150 kilograms, all the way up to 12 tons. So it's a very broad window. It also depends on, is it a big bull? Is it maybe or when I say big bull, a big male? Is it a big female? And also the size of them. So with this one, as I said, probably 3 tons, and then of course the bigger ones can go all the way up to 12. So while we're appreciating this herd of elephants here at andBeyond Ngala, let's head across to Djuma, to Tristan, who also found a herd of elephants.
I do indeed, but before we get into our herd of Ellies, I must apologize profusely to Nikki. I've called him Sean twice this morning. I have no idea why. Nikki, I'm very, very sorry. When the lockdown is all over, I shall endeavor to repay you with a hoppy cold beverage at some point in apology. But anyway, we have driven onto Simbambili for all of 1 second, and we bumped into a herd of Ellies, which is a good sign, I think. We're very close to One-Eyed Pan, the dreaded One-Eyed Pan, or what used to be the dreaded One-Eyed Pan, which will now hopefully be our best friend. It's just behind us is the little waterhole, and where we know so many different animals have crossed over the years that we've been on. What is it with you guys lately? You're all so curious. I don't know what's going on with the Ellies. Every Ellie encounter I've had in the last few days, they've come right up to us, particularly the boys. What's wrong? Okay, here you go. Apparently we're interesting. It's a small little grouping of them. There's not many. It's just this young male here, and then a female with 2 smaller ones, or 2 females, should I say. I was initially, when I first saw them, thought maybe, just maybe, it could be Short Trunk's herd, but it's not. She obviously, like I say, has a very easily recognizable short trunk, and she doesn't have another big female that accompanies her. So the presence of this big female in front of us indicates that it's not Short Trunk's herd at all. It's so nice just to see so many Ellies in the course of the last few days. It's been really, really nice just having them all around, and so many relaxed herds as well. Sometimes when we get a lot of elephants, you'll get some individuals that aren't relaxed at all. But this last few days, we've just had all the big relaxed individuals, and it's been so wonderful just to sit with them and spend some time. It's actually quite an ominous picture. You've got the ellies, and then behind them is a dead tree with a vulture and this overcast kind of grey sky. It's actually quite a kind of interesting sort of image. You can see there's a white-backed vulture and the dead tree at the back. Paints quite a gloomy picture, doesn't it? In the fact that the kind of colour of the sky, and like I say, the dead tree and the vulture. Luckily, it's not waiting for any of these guys to die. All of these guys are perfectly fine and healthy, but it's probably just perched there from the night. There's a couple trees that are around here that are dead, and always a white-backed vulture on them. Ever since I started working at Simbambili in 2015, there's always been a white-backed vulture that hangs around here. In fact, there's two of them. They're normally on the road to our left. There's a big dead tree there. That's where they normally sit, but sometimes they utilize this one as well. So cool to see. These vultures, like I say, a good sign. We haven't driven far, and we've at least got some good stuff. So you're asking why are ellies chubby if they only eat greens? Well, I like that question. The thing is that they have a very, very different digestive system to what we have. Because their digestive system isn't very good, it's not efficient. So what that means is it doesn't break down the grasses and the leaves very well. And so what that means is they've got to have a really, really big stomach to get enough food to actually get enough nutrients to survive. A big adult male elephant is eating 6% of his body weight, which in a winter period, which could equate to as much as 600 pounds of food or 300 kilograms of food in a single day. And so that means that there's got to be a lot of space to store it. And so they have a very, very big stomach and intestinal tracts that they're able to store a lot of food in. And the other part of it is because they aren't able to regurgitate their food and reprocess it, they have a lot of bacteria in their gut system. And as that breaks down the food, it causes a lot of gas to develop. And so that often swells them a little bit and bloats them. And it's why when you're sitting with ellies, you generally hear them passing gas regularly. Same as a zebra. If you look at zebras, they're also quite fat. And hippos, same thing. So all of those kind of animals that need to eat a lot during the day and have these bacteria in their gut that cause this gas buildup generally are chubby. And so that's kind of the reason why. The other thing is obviously as an elephant is massive. It's not a small creature, and so it's bound to have a biggish gut system, that's for sure. It's so nice to spend time with them though. Happy when I'm with ellies. Bumblebee, they do eat dry grass, but not really the tops of it. So what I'm going to show you now, just give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to lean over. I'm sorry if I make the camera move a little bit. I'm just trying to grab some grass for you. That's not a very good one that I've grabbed, sorry. Okay, I'm going to grab, hold on BK, I'm just grabbing some more quickly. I'm not as good as an elephant at doing this. I didn't really get it right, but it will be good enough for the purposes of what I want to show you. Obviously can't go walking around next to the ellies. Okay, so what we've got is we've got a grass that grows in the summer. As soon as it rains, these grasses start to sprout. They send up this very green stem, and they get this then seeding that takes place on top. That then becomes hugely important for the elephants during the summer period. Sorry, BK, I'm going to just move it so that it's actually a bit more stable for you. And so they will eat only the tops of the grass. So in summer, what they do is they bake the grass, pick it up, put it to their trunk, and then they'll eat it by just basically taking their mouth and taking that off. And this part that you see here, they'll just drop out and they'll eat only this. Now, in the winter months, obviously these seeds disappear. this starts to dry out and becomes brown and no good anymore to be eaten. And so what they then do is different. Now, if you see, I've got another grass stalk here. It's got no seeds. It's still a bit green, so they would eat this, but pretend that it's brown like this leaf over here. Underneath, on the bottom side, when they pick it up, you see there are these roots. Do you see the little root coming off there? Now that root is where all the nutrients is going to be. So instead of eating the top of the grass now, what they do is they pick it up and they try and pull out these little roots like this, and they'll then eat the bottom of the grass. So basically they would take it and they would, with their teeth, bite it there, and the top part they'll chuck away like they did with the bottom part in the summer, and in the winter they only eat these little root systems like this. And it's why in winter when they're eating dead grass, you'll see them hitting their chest a lot with the grass. That's all to try and get rid of any soil that could potentially be on that root and that would be damaging to their teeth. And so that's what they're really after, is that little nutritious root that you see there. And they'll eat a lot of that. But the percentage of grass within the winter period decreases massively. In summer, they're eating almost 60% of their diet is grass, whereas in winter it drops to like 30% that they go after. But there we go. Our Ellies have moved off. I'm going to keep going and keep exploring. There's some beautiful big open clearings that I want to take you guys to. So while I get into that area, hopefully there's going to be a sign of Clalamba coming out somewhere on the Djuma side. Our radio in the western side is very, very poor, so I've just stayed on the northern channel in case somebody picks up on Clalamba, which would be nice. Anyway, while I carry on, let's send you across to David and see if he has an update on that leopard sighting he was talking about a little bit earlier.
Welcome back. We are just taking a slow bumble. We haven't picked up on anything with spots just yet. We're hoping that my return luck holds true like it generally does when Davy and I are together. We seem to get very lucky. But not just yet. We found tracks for a pride of lion, but it appears to be from yesterday, and they've crossed over to the north. So we stopped following those. But otherwise, just a beautiful morning still here on the Chitwood property. Seen some lovely Ngala bulls and Waterbuck. Interesting, the hippo crossings on the roads. When you do a morning drive, you always see the different tracks that the hippos took in and out of the dam. As you may know, they get out the water at night to go and find some good green grass. And here's a prime example here on the right hand side. This is a typical hippo track. If we back up a bit, maybe we'll see a track. Other animals have been using it, Waterbuck and whatnot, this morning, so there's no clear hippo tracks, but this is a typical hippo track. They'll use it to exit the dam, move to an area where there's good green grass for them, and then perhaps use the same route or another route to get back into the dam before sunrise. And now I've heard from Tristan that those lion tracks we were following was the Torchwood Pride. Seems to be some good lion activity around the area at the moment with the different prides moving around. See some elephant tracks.
Go.
Always bound to see lots of activity around water. A lot of it happening at night. It's interesting. Sometimes I think the majority of activity always in the night time, in the cooler hours. And that's why the morning drives are so exciting, because you look at the ground and you try and interpret what happened during the evening. It's almost like our morning newspaper. Have a look at what transpired, what dramas unfolded during the evening. Amber, you're age 8. Lovely to have you watching the show, and thank you for your question. You've asked, is it easier to see animals in the morning or in the afternoon? It very much depends. I wouldn't say one or the other is better. You've got an equally good chance of either. Obviously some animals prefer the morning, some perhaps the afternoon, depends on what animals. Generally the cooler hours is when we're more likely to see the exciting animals like leopard perhaps, which are generally a little bit more active in the cooler hours, which would then be very early morning and the late afternoons and into the evening. But being in the bush at any time is always bound to be special. Well, we're gonna go back to the dam. We're gonna send you back over to Tristan, see what he's up to.
Still with Ellie's, as I was driving off from the other ones, we bumped into another group just up ahead that was kind of crossing the road. They're also heading in a very similar direction. But these guys, unlike the last lot that was quite relaxed, these guys are a little bit on the nervy side for some reason. They kind of turned and just looked at us with these ears out, and then all of a sudden just started to move. And you can see they're moving fairly quickly. Well, not that one's eating, but the two big adult females, they're moving fairly quickly through the bush and kind of taking their young ones away from us. So I'm not sure if maybe it's because they're a little bit detached from the rest of the herd that we saw earlier, or if there's a situation where they just feel a little bit nervous of the car. I don't know. Or maybe they smelt something. You never know. Maybe there's a bull around here. We know there's a lot of males around at the moment. So it's possible that there's a bull elephant that could be approaching, and they've picked it up on the breeze. There is a slight breeze that is just starting to pick up at the moment. But I was saying to BK, I'll never forget the spot that we're in right now, because we had probably one of the most insane sightings where I'm sitting. So not where those elephants are, but just here in front. These two bushes, basically across the road here. We were one day tracking Tingana and Moya, and we tracked them all the way from Elephant Plainside up and came, and it had been a long morning, and my tracker was tired. He had walked a long way, and we got to not far from here, a little bit further down the road, and we decided we'd stop for a coffee break because our guests had seen very little, and I think everybody just needed a bit of a break from the tracking. And so we stopped there, and then as we stopped there, we kind of heard a commotion, and so we quickly got back into the vehicle and we drove around, and we found Tingana here with Moya on a giraffe kill, which was super crazy. So I was regretting stopping for the drink stop, because if we had actually just carried on, we might have potentially seen that whole process take place. And I was super interested to know how it would have happened, because ultimately you've got a female giraffe, a young giraffe with a female leopard and a male leopard, and did they actually cooperatively hunt, or was it just Tingana, or was it just Moya that decided to go after this giraffe? Now, when I say it was a young giraffe, it wasn't a sub-adult. It was fairly small, but big for a leopard. There's photos somewhere. I'm sure somebody will post them. I think James Richard, you posted them before. I don't know what I did with it. I don't have it on my phone, but it was the most insane sighting to come around the corner and see this giraffe across, it was half in the road, half off the road, and these two leopards sitting over it, with blood coming from their mouth. It was incredible. And then the female giraffe was close by just watching. And then we watched them, and they were here for the whole day. And then that night we came back after game drive, because I had friends that worked, and we all were quite interested to see what was going to happen with this kill. And we came back, and there was a massive fight that took place between Tingana, Moya, and a whole bunch of hyenas over this giraffe carcass. It was crazy to watch. They eventually obviously lost it, and then the two of them went off and carried on mating. but it was interesting to see Moya being where we are now. Moya is a leopard that occurs down on the southern part of this northern block and into Londolozi. She never comes up here, but it just goes to show how far they'll follow a male when mating. Tingana dragged her all the way up to this area, which was very, very interesting. Oh, there goes a black-bellied bustard. Bye, black-bellied bustard. Flew away. Ndeka, sorry, I didn't pick up what you were saying. If you can just repeat what you were saying. Ah, there we go. All right, so it sounds like David has made his way back to Chitwa Dam, so let's send you across to him. I think he's gazing upon those big, rotund animals that spend time in the water there.
Indeed, we are back at Chitwa Dam. Well in the area. It's always a good idea to spend time around the water. Animals need water. It's a good place to find them. We just stopped off here with this pod of hippo. We're just going to sit here and enjoy the beautiful sounds of the Chitwa Dam life. Say that they do often say that a dog's life is the most relaxing, but I wonder if Hippo could give them a run for their money. Hippo don't even have that much gravity, they just float, or at least have the majority of their body supported in the water. They can't actually float or swim, they have to be in contact with the ground. So these hippo that you are seeing are actually standing on the bottom of the dam. But it doesn't appear to be taking much effort. They look very content. Very happy hippo. What a blessing to be able to sit here at the dam and just take it all in. It's been a challenging few weeks for the world, and it's been tough. I can only imagine being in places where there's no ready access to wildlife. We are very blessed to be able to be out here in the open, in these wide open wild spaces, enjoying the sounds and the sights and the smells, and it's a privilege to be able to relay it to all of you at home busy watching. This damp smell of the water and the aquatic life. Joyous snorts and bellows emitted from these incredible creatures, these big hippo. Bird life. The sounds and the sights and the smells of the bush are soul-soothing, and we are very privileged to be able to show it and share it with you. We thank you for your support, your continued support of WildEarth Productions, and we look forward to a very exciting future. Okay, you've asked, can hippos see underwater? And I do imagine they can. I do recall some... Ooh, what was that? Did you catch that? Looks like a kingfisher.
I think it's a giant.
Kingfisher, sorry. Thanks, man. Oh, very cool. I just saw something dive bomb out of nowhere. Its head is right behind the stump there. It's a giant kingfisher indeed. Can you still see it? Or has it gone behind the branch?
I think it's behind. It may have flown off.
What happened there was a giant kingfisher dove into the water, made quite a big splash. That's how they hunt for fish. They check them from above and then dive bomb them. Their sharp beaks. Precision fishing, I suppose. That was very, very cool. Well, we're going to sit here a bit longer and see if we see it again. We'll keep you up to date. While we do that, let's send you over to Ngala and Beyond with their Hyena.
So we were moving into the area to try and find the rest of the pride, and then we came to this open section here, and just in the middle of them you'll see there's two hyenas laying down. I'd like to focus on the one just off to the right. Now it does look like two youngsters, just because of you'll see there's quite a lot of fluff still around the neck, and there hasn't been, often the older they get, you'll see around the face they start losing a little bit more hair, and you find more maybe scars around the face, also little chunks out of the ear, and they get darker in color, especially the older they get. This one very light. See how they're laying in quite a big open area. And it'd be interesting to know why they're here. Was there maybe the signs of the lions that have moved through, or possibly wild dogs, maybe cheetah, or are they just enjoying this nice open area, and with it warming up, it's a little bit warmer here than possibly an area that's closer towards the river. Do you see a vulture at the back there? It looks like it's just gone and sat down. You can see it actually grabbed the attention of this one hyena. I just want to have a look. Maybe there was even a kill from the lions here. I'm just going to scan with my binoculars, see if I can see anything.
There's the vulture.
You see where the hyena is? With so the one that looking up. So if you focus the camera straight over him, you will see there's a little pan system. Just off to the left I can see a vulture. Now the vulture is looking into the trees or on the ground, just off to its left or right. So I just want to spend some time and see if there's anything. Oh no, you know what? That vulture actually grabbed a little stick, and I think it might be using it for its nesting material, because this is the time of the year as well when vultures nest or start building their nest again. So let's have a look. Looks like it's just grabbed it. Probably start flying up. I think the hyena was probably started getting exciting, because often with vultures, whenever you find a lot of vultures in areas, good sign for the hyena that there might be a potential meal. See, this one is really carefully looking at that vulture. Now it's interesting to see, because sometimes with a whole clan or even a couple of individual hyena, whenever there's vultures circling and they go down to a tree, immediately the hyena would start following and heading in that direction. Can you still see that vulture?
It's coming up.
Yeah, it picked up the stick again. Just dropped it. Yeah, I think it will probably move away. Oh, there it goes. See, I think the hyena probably knew that it's... See, it's probably heading up into the tree. Oh, there we go. So now at least we know where a vulture nest would be. Up that very prominent, looks like a fig tree in the distance. I think this hyena realized that there wasn't any other scraps around, because often if there's more vultures and possibly tawny eagles around, it's a good sign for them. They'll probably get up and start moving. But also they are, looks like two youngsters, so they might also just be waiting for the mother to return before they eventually start heading towards their den area. But very well aware of what's going on around them. You'll see both of them have their heads up and constantly scanning. Just look at how they... Kim, like I do agree with you, it is a very cool sighting, especially seeing how they look at that one even there that's maneuvering itself. You'll see even when they look this way, they'll position themselves in such a way that the wind will almost blow from behind them so they can smell if there's any danger. And of course, just cupping that ears like forward to see if there's anything that they can possibly hear or maybe even see in the distance. Now both of them are looking down in that direction, and it might just because there's quite a few birds making a noise down on that side. Butterfly, I do agree with you. This hyena has a beautiful face. Like if you, even the one off to the right, it's a very like delicate face. Yet though, like if you look around it, like the neck, even the back of the ears and that, like you can see, it's quite beautiful colors. Like on the very top of the head between the ears, it starts off with this light white color, and then around the face there's this little shades of, or a bit of shade of brown. And then of course once you get to the eyes, towards the nose, it turns into this very darkish color. And then as you go down, of course, it starts going into more of the spots. You'll see inside the legs there's not a lot of spots, but on the outside there's more of a grey, a brown color with quite a few spots. And then as soon as you go back towards the rump, it's more of a whitish color with a bit of black spots. Often when I do look at hyena, I try to see if I can pick up on a little spot pattern. There's so many individuals that you often see moving through this area that it's hard to identify them or to be precise on which hyena this might be. But I think I have seen these two before. This one off that we're looking at now looks like he has a little mohawk. You'll see with the sun in between his ears, just on that little light golden color. Now one of my absolute favorite stories, of hyenas in this area is there was a little black-backed jackal that moved through. And the hyena tried to catch the little black-backed jackal. And so the hyena chased this jackal around a termite mound. And the jackal moved away, and the hyena was still like running around trying to chase it. And eventually, like as it realized, okay, the jackal's not there anymore, the jackal started calling, gave this very loud call. And then the hyena chased it again around the termite mound, and then the jackal moved off. And the hyena was doing this for another few laps, and then from there on moved off. So very, very interesting. And I think sometimes the different individuals are so unique. And they tell such a beautiful story if you look at their faces and the rest of the coat. But while we do that, and maybe carry on with our drive to look for these lions, let's send you across to Tristan at a waterhole.
We are at a waterhole. So this is Simamili Dam. It's not a massive waterhole like maybe Buffelshoek Dam or even Gari Dam, but it's a sizable one. From this angle you can't see, but it actually turns round the bend there where that little grebe is swimming, and it goes up a drainage line a little bit further to the left there. And it's really amazing to see this like this. The last time I was at this dam was in beginning of 2017, and this dam was completely dry. There was not a single drop of water in it. It was during that drought period. It dried up, but it's really nice and full now, which is great. It's a lovely thing to see, and it's such a popular waterhole. This it attracts all kinds of things. A lot of buffalo come here. We get a lot of ellies, good dogs. When the dogs are around, they like to come to this waterhole, and the reason why is if you look from the waterhole and you go up the slope, it's a massive open area. Now this open area starts here and extends probably, I would say, about maybe 2 kilometers west, and it's one big open clearing, and the dogs hunt here a lot. They chase the impalas that are around, and then what they do is they flush them down in this direction, because the northern fence line of the Sabi Sands is behind us and this waterhole. So it means the impalas have got nowhere to really go, and they often then bomb into this waterhole, and then they just surround it, and eventually they get the impala out. Had quite a few sightings of wild dogs chasing impalas into this waterhole. There used to be a croc in here, but unfortunately when it dried out, the crocodile left, and hippos. So I don't see any hippos or crocodiles yet, but they will come as the winter goes on and other water holes dry up, so they'll start to move in this direction. But this is an area where you often find a lot of animals. At one point in 2015, 2016, this was Tingana's favorite little haunt. He used to love it here. If we were looking for Tingana on this side of the property, if he wasn't in Djuma, then he would be here. He would love to spend time here. And there's another little pan further on. He kind of bounced between the two of them. So it's always a good place to come and check. I believe Hukamuri now comes here regularly, and the Nkuhumas as well. And so I thought it would be a good place to check for the Nkuhumas, because they were last seen yesterday during the day coming north from Arathusa. And so from there's only a few places that they would generally go. It's either this waterhole, the other little pan I was telling you about, or they've cut completely west into Elephant Plains. But we'll try and check around and see, maybe we can pick up some tracks for them. But it's a beautiful little spot, this. It's just nice to come here, particularly if you have a really nice sunset. The sunset's over the right side of the waterhole at the outlet, and so you get this kind of gold light that comes across this waterhole. It really is very, very pretty in the late afternoon. So I'm sure we'll spend a lot of time in this area, that's for sure. Right, I'm going to carry on. I'm going to go up onto the open clearings. I'm going to go and scratch around there, see what we can find. Maybe there's some sign of Hukamuri or Tiani or cheetah or something. I don't know. We'll go and have a look. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Nikki. He's busy watching some impalas making a noise.
So we just found, just after the hyenas, we found these 2 impala males, locking horns, having a bit of a wrestle. Let's just see, because they do look like they're more or less similar size, so it'd be an interesting competition. Oh, let's just have a look. I think that one might have lost a bit of interest. I'm just going to move slightly forward, because they have been going at one another for, say, probably the last few minutes. So let's just see, maybe we can get another opportunity. There we go. Does look like they both have lost a little bit of interest. You can see that one is just rubbing his head now on that branch, probably just to tell the other one that I've won. I'm the more dominant now. Oh, that was very interesting. It was only for a little while. I actually thought it was going to be a bit of a longer tussle. Now it does look like one of the impala are running right in front of us. Might just be because another male chased it, or potential predator in the area. Let's just have a look. Okay, so only you see that one that's moved off, but I think I think for now, it just looks like a few of the Impala are just running around, very, very playful. But while we're having a look at them and carrying on to look for potentially lions this morning, let's send you across to David with an elephant.
We've managed to locate a beautiful elephant bull. He appears to be on his own. Haven't seen any others around. He's just left us some massive dung balls. Always lovely to see elephants. I absolutely love elephants. One of my favorite animals to spend time with out here. They're just so huge and majestic, and their presence demands respect. Let's just move around the corner here and get another view of him. He seems to have decided to make a bit of a move. And he's doing what elephants do best, which is eat. Massive bodies that require a lot of vegetation to sustain them. So the majority of their day is spent on feeding. As you can imagine, it takes a lot of salad to keep that body moving. We did have a bit of late rain, which brought some greenness back to the grass. So he'll still be picking at some grass, but we're going to start seeing them do a lot more browsing this time of year as the grass starts to wither and the nutrition is reduced. In the peak of summer, we see that elephant absolutely love grass. They feed predominantly on grass, but obviously in the winter with less grass, then they're going to start moving more towards the browsing, as you see this elephant busy doing. Browsing meaning feeding off trees and leaves and bark. And then in the dead of winter, when even the trees start losing their leaves, then we'll see the elephants start to feed even more on the roots of trees, pushing trees over and feeding on their roots where the majority of nutrition is found. I'm just going to move a little bit closer and then have a nice listen. This elephant's quite mobile and active, brushing through the trees. It's a beautiful sound that I'd love to share with you. Generally very quiet animals. Their feet are very soft when they walk through the bush, so you don't hear them walking per se. What you generally hear that gives away an elephant's presence is the breaking of branches or the shaking of trees as they move through. Nat, you've commented elephants are everywhere. Well, it does sound like we've had quite a few good sightings this morning from the other feeds. Let's just sit and listen a little bit as he moves through the trees and picks at his leaves. Quite mobile, this guy. Let's go around the corner and see if we can have another look from the front. Such massive animals, these elephants. They don't always appreciate their sheer size from a vehicle. Sometimes it takes being up and close to them on foot to really appreciate how huge they really are. Actually, it wasn't too long ago that Davy and I had a lovely elephant encounter on foot. A beautiful bull. Just gonna stick my nose in here and see if we can get another look at him. This guy seems to be pretty mobile this morning. Not going to go too far. Let's just see if we can have a look, unless he's turned to his right, which it appears he's done. So we're not gonna pursue much further. No doubt we'll get to enjoy some more time with elephants. Maybe we'll get another look. Let's see. He seems to be playing along. I can just see his huge grey bum here through the gap in the trees. Perhaps he's slowly feeding his way towards the dam. That's kind of the direction he's heading in. Let's see if we get lucky and he pops out. He's just behind these trees here. Well, we're gonna just wait a little bit and see if he pops out. While we do that, let's send you over to Tristan with WildBest.
We are with wildebeest, and I mean, obviously we see these guys a lot, but part of why I stopped with them is, I mean, they are quite skittish and alarm calling. It's not that I can see anything anywhere here to indicate that. It might just be that there's been very few vehicles passing by this area of late, and so they're just a little bit nervy of us stationary like this. But what I wanted to kind of show you more is just how big and open this clearing is. It's a seriously large area that is open. It's beautiful when the light is good. Early morning when that sun is rising, late afternoon, you just get the most incredible views around here. You can see it stretches for quite a while, and it's basically 360 degrees from us, this incredible kind of open area. And so it makes it a really nice place, particularly for the lions, cheetah. They spend quite a lot of time milling about here. Like I said, the dogs earlier. Leopards, not so much. They typically are on the fringes, much like what we see on quarantine. Very similar situation. This is where the leopards kind of use the edgings of the clearing, but this will be more predominantly used by your predators that like to hunt in the open. And then obviously a lot of herbivores as well. So you get a lot of wildebeest here, a lot of zebra that hang around in this particular section. Buffalo, if they're in the area, they're also around. And so, you know, it's a good place to come and check. It's always a good starting point. I remember when I used to guide at Simamili, I would always like to come up this area, check that dam that we were at just now, because that would give you a good idea of what's been moving around. Simamili is quite an interesting property. It's not like Djuma, that is very square. Its property is a little bit more slender, is probably a good way to put it. So I'll show you on a map what I mean. It's not the full map of Simamili, but it will at least give you an idea of what I'm talking about with regards to how it looks. Now, I'm just pulling it up on my phone. There we go. All right. So what you'll see is that there's going to be a white block. Now that white block that you see there is Djuma. So that's what Djuma looks like. Now if we come across, you'll notice, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, you'll notice there's a green shaded kind of line that's on top here. That is Simambili. Underneath it is Arethusa in white, but in green is Simambili. So you see quite a narrow property, but a very long property, which means that if you check this section here, normally what you're doing is you're cross-sectioning this north-south area, and that means anything that is moving east-west, which is typically what happens on Simambili, is you cutting that kind of line, and you can then work out if things are going eastwards or westwards, or if there's anything kind of milling about. And the focal point of this sort of eastern sector is Simambili Dam. The property doubles in length from here going down, and then the focal point becomes the Pungwe and Manyeleti drainage lines. Unfortunately, our signal in both of those is going to be all but nothing, so it will be impossible, I think, to show you those areas. But then on the other side of that, you start to get back up towards the Ottawa boundary. Now, if we're incredibly lucky and all the stars align and there's, you know, I don't know, some crazy amount of luck, there's a very, 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 very slight, small percentage that we could potentially see Hosanna on that boundary. It's where he is in Ottawa, but he doesn't really come this far north. He's been staying more to the south. So we'll obviousthe be keeping an ear out for that and checking around that area in case he's there. But actually, this section that we're in now, this, so Shadulu and Kara, they come in. The other two females that are here, they are that side, so they go more to the west, and they hang around the camp area, along the Manyeleti, Pungwe drainages, and then down into Elephant Plains. Now, I do apologize if there is we're still trying to figure out all the spots. You know, some of them are going to be a little bit up and down at times, particularly when we start to signal starts to become a little bit odd. It's not as stable. All right, well, we're going to go and check out and scan about and see. In the meantime, I'm going to send you back across to David.
Well, we managed to not find Mr. Elephant. He was very elusive. Davi and I both called him a ninja elephant because he kind of sent us on a bit of a wild goose chase, but sometimes it happens that way with elephants. They really melt away. It's quite amazing. They, as large as they are, they just know how to vanish in the thick bush, and they know how to be very quiet if they want to be. So that was the case with this elephant, but I'm sure we'll find more. Let's carry on with our little bumble down the track. Perhaps find a couple of his Hyenas. Remember, and then now you've asked, are there any Marula trees in the area? There's lots of Marula trees. Not the time of year for fruit though, which is what they're most famously known for, their delicious yellow fruit. I will look for a Marula tree and point one out for you. Definitely one of the favorite trees out here. There's a Marula tree on our right. Just let me see if we can get a little gap through the trees here. And that is a Marula tree. There's many out here. Very cool trees, very important trees out here. But this time of year, not a lot of leaves or fruit on them. We'll have to wait till the summertime rolls around again. Well, we're going to continue on, see what we can find. In the meantime, let's send you over to Nikki for an update.
So we found some tracks of, looks like 2 lions. So, well, not us, there's another vehicle out at the moment. So Eric and Pete, and they said to us they found some tracks on one of the game paths not too far away from where we are now, and it looks like they're heading off in a westerly direction. So what we're going to do from here is we're going to carry on with this road, and there's another little drainage line that's not too far away from here. We'll go straight there and start our search, because what we're trying to do now is we're trying to see where these lions might have gone and lay down. So I'm thinking, like, the direction of the wind is blowing from right in front of us towards us, so these lions are most likely going to move into the direction of the wind, so that if there's any hunting opportunity they might use it. Also, if they were unsuccessful or successful, they might have been in the denser area, so maybe close to that drainage line. So that's why I think let's get there and have a good look. Who knows, maybe we can find them this morning. Now, I haven't seen the Pride. I know you've probably seen the Pride, I think 2 days ago with Roan. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. But really nice to see them again and see, have they made a kill? Where are they at the moment? Always this nice little adventure. I just want to quickly hear what this one ranger is saying, because he might have an update for us of those lions. Go ahead.
Nice angle from where we were.
Go again.
There's a giraffe making its way down to Clara Dam. Nice angle from where we were.
So unfortunately the ranger didn't give us an update about these lions, but he did say there were some giraffes going down to the water. Now, just thinking, the area where they are and where we are now, it's a bit of a drive, so by the time we get there, they might have moved off. So let's rather carry on with our search. Also, I can see quite a few vultures in the area, so it might just be because it's warming up, so they might use these heat thermals in order to gain a little bit of altitude, but you just never know. Lexi, that Rossmel, I'm not too sure where he might be. There's some big lion tracks here, so I think he might have actually did a bit of a loop and followed the rest of the Pride, because this morning when we found that female and that young male, so they were a really dense area. Unfortunately, there was no signal in that area, and we didn't see the Rossmel there. So the young male has joined up with his sister now, and they both together. So we haven't seen the Rossmel. I'm just thinking maybe he decided to come and join up with the rest of the Pride. So that's what we're going to have to try and see if we can find them this morning. So this is what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking if these lions would have moved from that game trail, they would have probably moved into this area here. If we do see some tracks crossing, at least we're narrowing it down and we can start searching in that direction. But if not, we know then they might be in this block off towards our right. So a block is just an area where there's no roads to get to. So they might have gone in between a section where there's no roads to see them from, basically from the road. So let's carry on here. Oh, and keep a good look out. I'll look out for any tracks that we might see. But also, I mean, going into a riverbed like this, even though we're looking out for lions, often it's also a good area to be looking out for leopard. So while we are carrying on in this beautiful drainage system, let's head across to Tristan and hear if he has an update for us.
Well, we're watching some dwarf mongoose. Not as sad a sighting as what Lauren had yesterday, the little blind mongoose, but these guys are still cool to watch, and are still intriguing nonetheless. They're sunning themselves at the moment. It's obviously been a cold morning with the clouds, and so they've come out and they're sitting just on the side of their mound where they are able to get a little bit of sunshine and basically warm up as quick as possible before they then head out on the day's foraging to go and see if they can find all kinds of little tasty morsels that mongoose like to eat. You can see the sun just starting to come out now. They really are cute little things. I must be honest, they have these kind of little bare faces in some respects. There's another one coming out. It's also incredible to see how many of them actually start emerging from these little mounds like this. You think that there's only one or two, but soon you end up with, 15, 20 of them all scattered around, having a look at you. And of course, they'll be very nervous. There's one that's just come out right here. Look, Vika. Hello, you two. Cabri, indeed, it is a family photo, isn't it? It's like everybody's kind of posing together. You get it a lot with meerkats, not so much with mongoose. I mean, mongoose come out and they kind of look around, but meerkats sometimes will stand in the early mornings because of where they occur and how cold it can get. They'll go and stand and they'll warm up, and everyone stands together upright, so they're on their back legs and they all kind of face forward, and it looks just like a family portrait is being taken. And then you'll find like the little ones in the middle and then the adults on top and on the sides, and it kind of looks like they've been placed perfectly, and they're all standing there stoically with this, almost like grin on their face as they face the sun. It's very funny. The mongoose aren't quite as good at it, but they do still kind of huddle together, and especially when there's in presence of us, they're going to be a little bit nervy and a bit wary and make sure that they don't go too far from the holes, that they know safety is or where safety is. So you'll find that they kind of stick kind of close, and they do look at us, but it's not the same as the meerkats. The meerkats certainly have family portraits down pat, that's for sure. But I love watching these guys. These guys can be seriously entertaining. They are often up to no good, particularly the smaller ones. They often playing and carrying on and busy with all kinds of things. And then the adults, well, I mean, they're obviously incredible little hunters. They find amazing amounts of food, and that coupled with the fact that they have the most intriguing social structure in terms of their ability to establish dominance. Unlike most creatures out here that will generally apply dominance and become territory or become the alpha or the leader of whatever they are doing, is normally by force and so by fighting or some sort of interaction like that display. These guys are a little bit different, so they don't fight for dominance. What they do is they groom each other, and that might sound very odd, but they have a groom off. So basically what happens is, let's say two rival males, they'll come together and they will groom each other to the point that the other one cannot anymore. So the one till exhaustion basically. And when you see this taking place in this grooming kind of competition, it looks like they've been dunked in a bucket of water, because they've essentially groomed themselves so much that they are covered in each other's saliva. And like I say, eventually it gets to the point where one just fatigues too much and gives up, and then the other one is the winner. In the sort of dwarf mongoose territorial battle. Not that I think it's a great thing to be groomed to the point of exhaustion, but Sorry, exactly. This mongoose is 100% chill. It's in lion or leopard resting pose. So we didn't get a leopard on a termite mound today, but we certainly got a mongoose in maximum chill. With his kind of front legs over the branch and the back legs out to the side. Very good lion or leopard impersonation, little dwarf mongoose. And they don't really sit like that normally. You can see all the others are kind of sitting with their front legs forward in case something is around that they can spring to action. But this one is definitely in full relaxation mode. That's for sure. That's very cool. That's when you know you're the boss. What makes me think, what I think of when I see this is there's all those meme videos that go around with, you know, I think it's Thug Life or something like that, where they get a little pair of sunglasses that comes down over the dwarf mongoose, or over the character's face that's in the video, and so and like a gold chain, and so I can just imagine this dwarf mongoose with a pair of sunglasses and a gold chain, just taking it easy, reclining on his little branch, looking ever so cool. Dwarf mongoose. And you can see a bit of grooming is taking place as well. So it's just the start of the day. A little bit of yoga now, just to make sure we kind of get all stretched out, get the fur in good condition, and then, like I say, it's off to go and mill about and find food. And they'll be scratching around and getting grubs and all kinds of other things. They'll even accost snakes if they have to. I see the other ones have also gone into maximum chill mode on their mound. They've decided that we are not something to worry about. And it just goes to show you, you know, this is the thing with wildlife, is I often see a lot of people driving around in areas, and I mean, this is true of India and here and various other places that I've been to where wildlife occurs, and I often see people just rush and they stop, and then they're like, oh, the dwarf mongoose has run away, it's not, you know, I'm going to just carry on. But it's really important to spend time with animals. As you can see by what's happened now, is that first they all disappeared, now they've started to come out, and because we're sitting and being relaxed with them, they are starting to relax as well, and starting to really kind of come out. I mean, they're starting to forage around us now. There's even one that's come much closer to where we are. So it just goes to show you that you've got to kind of give it a bit of a chance, and eventually things will work out. That was pretty quick. All right, well, we're going to sit here with our little dwarf mongoose for a little bit longer and enjoy them. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send you across to Ngala. Sounds like they've had some luck with some spots.
So we just found a leopard with a youngster. Just want to see where she goes. So we're going to quickly try and get the camera on her. All right, she's just moved behind that one bush. Let's move around. It does look like it might be a female that's normally in this area. We refer to her as the Shitsalala female with one of the youngsters with her. So let's just see if we can loop around and get another view of her. Owen, can you see it? All right, there we go. I can see some movement. Now, there is an open patch coming up. So, is there two youngsters? I think we might have seen two youngsters with this leopard. So, there is an open area just on this side. So, we're just going to slowly move forward and see if we can see them. Now, it might have been, there was a, oh, there we go. Okay, I'm going to lower my head. Tell me if you can see them in the grass. Oh, I think it's so difficult because they are moving. I want to try and see if we can follow them again. It is hard, however, I think there's another open area that they might come through. So just bear with me as we move through this area. Oh, there we go, there on the right. So we do have a replay of what we've seen. So if everyone would like, we'll quickly play that while we're trying to reposition and get another glimpse. Alright, so I hope everyone managed to see a little bit more. Now, it does look like there might be two youngsters here, which is very exciting because the other day we saw this female. She was only there with the young male, and we thought that something might have happened with the sister, but I'm so glad that both of them are here. Just going to try and see if we'll be able to follow. I think what we need to do is just probably go around. It is getting quite dense here. So hold on. Okay. Just want to go through this open patch here. Let's hold on as we move through. Hold on. James Richard, thank you. It was, I don't think we did too much. We were actually still looking for these lions, and then this elephant herd moved, and I think they might have flushed the leopards out of the grass. So let's see if we can find them again. So they have moved in quite a dense area. Now the biggest thing is, like, if they have moved into a dense area where we can't follow, we're not going to try and push to get a view. We'll then carry on from there, but I am trying to see if we can move to the more open areas, and hopefully they'll come out. Hold on. So we haven't seen anything yet, but Owen, keep a good lookout on the left here. So if they would have moved this direction, there's a good chance they might come up in this open area in front of us. Alright, I think what we're going to do is just stop here now. I just want to give it a couple of minutes and just see if there's any signs of them coming out. But the area is pretty dense in front of us. And so while we do that and wait a little bit, let's send you across to David for an update.
Well, best of luck to Nikki with those leopard. Very cool that we now have a feed at Ngala and beyond. It's a beautiful property. Actually quite cool. I grew up right next to it. Well, spent about 5 years in a little research station called Hyenas, and my father was stationed there at the time, and it's right next to the open gate. And it's actually a funny memory. I was riding my bicycle. I was about 10 years old, and I was riding my bicycle actually en route to the little Kruger Orpen rest camp where I used to go buy cokes. And I took a detour, and I actually rode my bicycle right into an Ngala sighting of a pride of lion. Luckily the lion was sleeping and very lazy. They just looked at me, this 10-year-old kid on a bicycle. Weren't too interested. And I'd never forget the look on that ranger's face. Who on earth is this kid on a bicycle that's just cycled into my sighting? And that's my funny memory of the Ngala property. Many, many moons ago. Looks like some buffalo dung, fresh buffalo dung from last night. Tracks heading behind us, so might see some stragglers. Let's have a quick look through this block. Chidilu fan, you say you love that story. It is a good one. It's a very funny memory. I was very blessed to have a childhood out here in the bush. Growing up out here, one naturally gets to experience unusual situations like that. And thankfully, we live to tell the tale. Well, if there's good news, let's send you over to a very excited spot.
So we just found that leopard again, and well done to the viewers. It is the Ngala female and her young daughter. It does look like the daughter is limping though. So let's follow them for a little while. But really well done. I thought maybe initially, because we were thinking there might have been two youngsters, that it could be the Shitsalala female. However, now seeing the one and having another look at that leopard, it's definitely the Ngala female and her young daughter. Now what's sad is the daughter is limping. However, I know with the mom around, she'll probably look after her very well. So let's see if we can get another glimpse. I know they've moved through here. It's starting to get dense again. Just want to try and see if we can move around. So keep a good lookout. So often with leopard, especially this time of the year, they disappear so quickly in this tall grass. Hold on. There, I can see a tail right in front of us. Hold on. Just going to slowly move forward. Just watch out there, Owen. Okay, there's a little game trail here, Owen. But you might see it now. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to move in. There's a little game trail in front of us. So we might only get one more good glimpse, and then I think they're going to disappear in this tall grass. So I'm going to try and see what we can do. There we go. Okay. Oh, and just as soon as we got a glimpse, like they disappeared. So there is another gap that we could possibly get. So just hold on while we're trying to maneuver. Now what we're trying to do is just basically go in between the trees and just stay on the grassy section. Okay, Owen, right in front of me. I think the youngster might come out. Okay, there we go. I'll move out of the way. I think that one just disappeared. It might have been the mother. I'm trying to see where the youngster might be in front, because earlier on I saw the youngster still, even though she had a little bit of a limp, she was still very playful with mom. So let's try and see if we can get another glimpse. Alright, so just knowing the layout of the whole area, just to let everyone know, like, for the biggest thing as well that we're trying to do here is we're trying to be as sensitive as possible as well, like even though we are trying to get a view. So for them, they are moving into quite a dense area, and for us to try and really push into to see them is going to be putting a bit of pressure on them, but also on the environment. So what we're going to do from here is I think we're going to start making our way out, let them be, and maybe this afternoon we can come back into the area, maybe go search the more open areas, and hopefully they would have moved out. Petru26, I think the cub might have stepped on the thorn. I don't know, maybe like she could have jumped out of a tree, maybe just landed in a wrong position, which is very unlikely, but I think the thorn would probably be more of a likely option. But just to show you where we are currently, so if I use the map, so we are currently right over here, roundabout. And the thing is, we were coming down from this side looking for the lions, and we found them here. Now, I don't know, because of the lions maybe in the area, the mother is taking this youngster and moving it away, because often with leopard and lion, the lion don't tolerate leopard too well, or too much. And from there on, this mother is now probably taking the youngster. There's a big open area on this side, and then once you move over it, it starts getting dense again. So that's probably where she will head off eventually. But for now, I think let's leave them be. and then we'll start making our way out, probably start looking for some more lions as we make our way out. But how beautiful was that special early in the morning? And it's also, like, to be honest with you, that little youngster is probably my favorite leopard of all time. She has a very beautiful, quite delicate face. So I think while we're trying to find our way out of here, we're going to link you back to Tristan and see if he has any update for us.
Well, the update is that we have just come out of Simambili. We'll go back this afternoon. We didn't even get far at all. We ended up kind of turning back just because we ran out of time. So this afternoon we'll explore again. The good news is that what I was hoping for is the Nkuhumas, and it sounds like, I just spoke to the guys now, where we were stopped with those dwarf mongoose, they were just south of the boundary there, but coming towards Simambili. So this afternoon we'll go across and maybe we'll get lucky with Djuma Pride. It sounds like the two Avokas are there with them as well, so it'll be a nice sighting if we get them at that pan. The guys say that they're heading straight there, but it's just started to heat up all of a sudden, so I hope that they don't just lie down south of the pan. I'm hoping they'll push to the water point and then lie down from there. So it's at least a good thing to go follow up on. And then they said to me that they'll send me any updates on any of the spotty cats if they see them. I think Tiani and Nzatini were last seen somewhere around EP camp. Those two cats love a camp. It's just how that whole family lineage has been. They all were born in camps and when I say born in camps, people might think that they are tame. That's not the case. It's just that they use the decks particularly to give birth under, because the decks are a really nice safe spot for a leopard to have its little ones. And so Salahesh had Tiani under the deck at Simambili's. Tiani had her first cub, and Zutini under a deck at Simambili. And it's lineages before that, generations before that even have had them there. So they're very accustomed to being around. And now that there's no guests and very few staff, I'm sure they're having a whale of a time in those camps. I've got some very funny stories about Tiani. There's a purple roller. Tiani from Sylvan, when Sylvan was still being built. You see on top of the dead tree here? Yeah. So quite high up. When Sylvan was still being built, Tiani was an absolute menace in that camp. She used to cause all kinds of havoc. She'd go and pull out all the insulation on the geysers, and she'd climb all over the geysers. Then she'd be in the rooms because it wasn't finished yet, and she would cause all kinds of havoc, that's for sure. But it'll be cool if we can catch up with Tiani. She is so pretty. She has an incredible set of eyes. These very kind of light, almost bluish colored eyes, and she is as relaxed can be. In fact, she's probably one of the most relaxed leopards I've ever had the pleasure of spending time with. She's really very, very cool. So I'm hoping we'll get to see her, and her daughter, by the sounds of things, is just as relaxed as her. I have seen her daughter once already, as a little cub, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to see her as well. I believe a lot of you are happy to be in Simambili. Indeed, it's nice. The slow expansion is a good thing. The more area we have, the more opportunities we're going to have to be able to find animals. And so it's a really good thing to have Simambili. And we know how busy Simambili is because of the animals that go in and out of Djuma. So it should be a really good time. Hopefully we're going to find a lot in the next little bit. And hopefully the Nkuhumas will be this afternoon. But purple roller is a nice thing to see. I'm not giving you much attention, little purple roller. These guys, I see them a lot more in the winter times. I don't know why it is. In summer, they seem to get overshadowed heavily by European rollers, even though this summer we had very few European rollers in the area. They, for some reason, just kind of get overshadowed. But in the winter months, you start to kind of see them a lot more. And while they're not as beautiful as the lilac-breasted roller or broad-billed roller, or maybe even the Europeans, they still have incredible deep, rich color when they fly. When they sit, they look quite drab. But when they fly, they've got this deep, deep purple. And if the light is right, it can be a really pretty bird to see in flight. So, much like most rollers, they have a lot of color in them. And when they're in these flight displays. Very, very cool. Anyway, it's that time of the day where we're going to say goodbye to all of you. It's unfortunately come to the end of a shortened sunrise safari, given that we had a bit of an internet issue. But hopefully that will all be sorted for this afternoon. We'll be back out and about. But otherwise, it was, I suppose, still a very productive drive, even though it was short. So from all of us, it's been an absolute pleasure. And we'll see you this afternoon on our sunset safari.